It's part of why I structured that form you guys have that we're going to go over in a little bit. So yeah, so I'm super excited to have everybody in the office and work on what we've learned. And Austin, I think, is going to go over some numbers this morning
Mm-hmm.
and how to make sure that y'all are hitting your goals, because I know a lot of people have written down goals of what you want to make in a month, but you're not necessarily getting there, right?
Yep.
So what do we really need to do to get you there? Because now is the time to refocus. Kids are going back to school. Summer is over. It's time to get back to work.
Yeah.
It's time to stop making excuses, and it's time to get back to work.
It's
And so if we
it's
want to hit our
halftime.
goals, we got to really kind of crunch those numbers and make those things happen. And the best part of it is it's not a lot of work.
No.
Like, we broke it down to, like, okay, realistically, how much time is this actually going to take? It's still a part-time job.
Yeah. We're gonna talk through all that, right? So we are. So
There you go.
I think the messaging that came out of that meeting was it's halftime, and for everybody in this room, Janice, I know you saw it, but you really didn't see it. November and December is madness in this business. Like, it is madness. Okay, so think about it this way. In the health insurance world, 60 to 70% of all businesses renew November, December, January. Out of all the businesses, all the health insurance out there, they're renewing here in a little bit, right? So what you're going to start hearing in just a second is call me in October, right? You're going to start hearing that objection, right? I promise you. If you hear it, you're going to start to hear it because they're going to start lining up with the medical, right? So right now is go time because ideally we start stacking a bunch of stuff that's going to start landing September, October, and November. Because once November hits, they've already made up their mind and they're like, we got to go to work, right? It's just the reality of it. And so, what I was tasked with, so what they did is they went across the room, the whole state, and they grabbed the regions and they wanted us to do different topics. And one of the topics that came up was the SAT report. And I said I'd take it. I wanted to start. I think, Simon, we joke a lot about this. We're probably the least owly people, on the team, right? Like I don't really like numbers, but I appreciate them, right? And so what I was doing is I was able to get access to the SAT report and CCLM on a market level. Okay, so I can't. This is the one area where I really thoroughly enjoy numbers is knowing like what do the numbers mean and how do I use them, right? Because I think that's that, and I was calling people out, and that was reality is we don't use it, right? And the reason why we don't use it is because we don't see the value, right? And I know that, right? And then so what I've done is I've challenged our leadership team here in our office is like we've got to start using it, and we've got to know how to coach to it and how to help and make people successful, right? So what I want to do is I want to do the first part of that meeting, and I want to show you guys exactly what we were doing with all the districts in the office. And so what's awesome is these numbers. I'm going to show you what the SAT report shows, and also show you what the leaderships were saying. So Kent, if I write if I write with not that marker. If I write with this, is that straight? That's correct, right? Can you
Yes.
see that?
No, you got to do black.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna use black. Tanley's been leaving markers uncapped, coloring
Yeah.
up here.
Sorry.
All of them are dead. She
We'll-
got all
we'll
her
get you some
artwork.
We'll get you some new markers.
It's all right. Oh, they're all dead, I think. Let me see. Oh, Tanley!
Ah.
Tanley!
Here.
I got one. We got one. Maybe I'll try that one. We got a little creature coming in color in the nights. There we go. All right. So what we did is how I started this meeting, and it's good because I want to start, and this would be awesome actually, because I did this with all the districts, but I want to hear from your all's perspective too, because sometimes there's a disconnect from what the districts say and what you all say. And so my first question for everybody was, first off, if I'm prospecting, right, and I'm on the phone, and all I'm gonna do is I want to set aside, I'm on a call blitz. How many phone calls from your all's experience do you think we can make in an hour? If I'm really like, all I'm gonna do is I'm sitting here and make phone calls.
If you actually talk to people, I typically make about 10 an hour.
If we're talking to people? Yeah, and you say a lot. What do you think? Mike? And if you're not talking, I mean, just in general, I'm not even saying like just like the one time I called and I talked to a bunch, I only talked to 5, like as an average.
I'd say
30?
30.
5 minutes a call? What is that? 15, 20? Janice, what do you think?
I'm thinking if you're talking and, trying to get to the personal charge and also trying to be human, I think it's about 10 to 12.
10 to 12?
That's what
Calls
I'm
12.
averaging, 10 to 12.
12?
5 minutes of calls 12.
5 minutes a call is 12?
Mm-hmm.
I like that, right? And that's okay, right? This is right. I wanted people to have the expectation of, all right, so 12 calls. Okay? So now the next one. If we're out there marketing now, right? And I know for a fact that if I'm out in rural Dublin, I do less drops than if I'm on a main drag in downtown Atlanta, right? So on average, we're out there marketing. How many doorknobs can I pull in an hour?
That just depends on how many of them.
15?
I would say 10.
10?
I'd say 5.
5?
If they're in the same proximity,
Right,
I
that's
would
why I
say
said
probably
very
about, if it's like a little mall, maybe about 15, because
Do we
it's faster.
do we think we could do 5? Like
Oh, yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like no
At
doubt.
least
Of,
5.
Yeah.
do that 5 drops. I guarantee. That's why I want people to think like. I guarantee there's no way if we went out there marketing, I got my calendar, we could do 5. All right, good. Next one. What do you think is the average premium from a new account here in this state? I open up a new group, how much business do we write on average across the board?
$1,500.
$1,500. More.
2,500.
More.
2,500.
More.
5,000?
More.
15,000?
7,000?
$6,600.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
$6,600. This is the average production of a new account here today in this state.
Annual premium.
Annual premium, $6,600 of AP, right? And I'll tell you, that's gone down. We had some people in the room that they were averaging 8, 9, 10,000, right? But here is a state right now across the whole state, $6,600 is our number. Okay. So now the key here is then start to understand ratios. And in our meeting, we were looking at inactives, we were looking at actives. I just want to be like, okay, if I'm coaching a new person, I just come out of flight school, what do I got to do? Like, tell me, like, what do I got to do? I know Eric came out of flight school and he's like, I gotta do X to be successful every single day. Like, what is that number, right? I think that's where sometimes we come out of these meetings, we're a little confused and we're just like, so how much? What's my calendar? Where do I got to be? Like, what does this look like? And so what we came up with next was we said across the board, and I don't want to have anybody on the spot here today, so I'll just do what we use in the group, is as a team, we determined that the average new associate we come in the group, they're like, hey, I want to make $3,000 a month, right? So if this number applies to you, awesome. If you're like, hey, I want to make 5, we'll show you how to do the math. If you only need to make 1,500, it's the same formula, right? So for this example, I'm brand new. I'm an agent. I want to make $3,000 a month. What do I got to do, right? So help me understand this. And so what that in our world, which for you all, how many new groups do we have to open to make $3,000? 1 a week? 3 a month? 4 a month? I don't know. What do you guys think? How do we figure that out?
Well, the first month will be a little easier.
Yeah, and that's why I want to take bonuses out of it. So I know we're really juicing this thing up. So hold on. So if I write $6,600, how much money do we take home the next day? So what is that? give me an answer. I guess you guys have calculators. I want to know, like, I write.
I failed math, huh?
Get your calculator. You're good. This is important for you to know.
I just get the whole thing and
How-
2310.
So if I write $6,600, how much do you take on the next day? So, and this is a good, and actually, you guys are pretty close. I intentionally try to underpromise. Let's just assume we only wrote dental, right? Because on average, it's between 30, 40, 50. If we write all cancer and critical in life, it's a hell heck of a lot more too, right? You're getting 40, 50% sometimes, right? So I'm just like, here, just assume we wrote accident and dental, and that's it, right? I say my rule of thumb is just assume 25% of that. So what's 25% of 6,600? $1,800. So we're about halfway there. So as we came up, if I open up two groups, you're talking 1 a week, 3 a month, literally two a month. If I this math, then how much premium would that be? Times two groups.
1300.
Lower 13,000. Yeah, $13,000. 13,000 what? $200 of AP a month. And for the record, that's literally just the average, two groups a month, right? So now, and this is actually what was cool is we pulled the big outliers out. Like 98% of all the groups were under 25 lives. So this is small businesses, right? So for some people, like, oh, I'm working on some big groups. This is literally just the bread and butter small businesses here in the area. Okay, so 13,200. So that's what we're chasing. We're essentially, as if I'm a new person, I'm like, cool. I just got to open up two groups a month, and I'm good. If I can follow that system through and through, I know I can't lose. So now the next question is, as we start to understand this formula, was, all right, so if I got to close two groups a month, if I got to close two groups in general, how many meetings do we have to run? 5, right? So here's what I'll tell you. As we're new and we're still trying to figure these numbers out. In our entire district meeting, I heard 2. I'm like, okay, you're good, but you're not that good, right? Come on now. Come on. I heard 5. I heard 7. And like 7 was like, yeah, if I run 7. So I proposed a question. I'm like, cool. If you ran 10, right? You take Cyan in the meeting. You take your district. You take anybody with you that's got some kind of skills, been here a little while. If they ran 10, you guarantee you'd close 2. And they were like, no doubt. No doubt. And what's good is the math and the CCLM crushes this. So I said, okay, let's juice it up then. Let's just say we've got to run 10. Okay? So I was like, all right, but hold on now. This state, we got the Masters here. People love to go golfing. They're on the farm. It's raining. They cancel. How many do we have to schedule, though, to actually run 10? 20. 20? I like that, right? I said just double it. You got to schedule 20 to run 10 to guarantee you'll close 2. And they're like, okay, all right, that's fine. So now the next piece of the puzzle was, all right, well, if you got to schedule 20, how many owners do we have to see to schedule 20? 30, 40, 40, half? Nikki, what do you think? If you're out there actually talk to an owner, you're out there prospecting, you see an owner face to face, you saw 10 of them, do you think you could schedule a couple? What is your ratios?
At least 4.
Almost half. So if you saw 40 owners, do you think you could schedule 20 and run 10?
Yeah.
Like guaranteed. If this was 50, do you think you could do it?
Yeah.
Right? We saw 50 owners, like literally face to face. I'm sitting across the table with the owner and be like, hi, I'd love to talk about how we can help save your business some money and get you guys some benefits that didn't cost you a dime. We think we could, if we saw 50 of them, I bet you we could schedule 20. Guarantee we'd run 10. And by that math, there's no way in hell we can't close 2. Great. So now, this is where, what was kind of interesting about CCLM, and we kind of owned it that, our region has been kind of bad at it, because we haven't been coaching to it, which is fine. And so that's why I was like, that's why I requested, give me access to the entire state. Give me access to the entire organization. I want to see because if I look at just this little bit, it's still kind of off a feel, right? Like, yeah, I think so. But if I look at 6 months worth of data, it'd be pretty solid, right? So check this out. Here's the one thing we're able to pull from this. Is inside of CCLM right now as a state, there is over 100,000 approaches, right? So that's a big chunk of data, right? 100,000 visits, 100,000 drops, phone calls in the system right now, year to date, 6 months. Of these 100,000, guess what? Guess how many owners they saw? 20%? 40%?
10,000.
What do you think, Janice?
I think it's lower, because it's in there, but because we're not following up.
We're doing
Truthfully?
a bunch of initials.
Yes.
So what do you think it is?
Like seen or talk to?
Seeing an owner,
Maybe about 15%.
probably 10.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, but that was really ridiculously low.
10%.
Yeah.
So out of all of this data, they saw over 10,000 owners. So basically what that means is if I go into 10 places, the odds are you'll see one. Just see, right? So then we don't know that though. I mean, that's so important to realize. What do we actually have to see? What do we have to know? What do we have to do to see an owner? So calculators, if I need to see 50, how much activity do I have to do? Thank you. 500. And you should have seen the looks on people's face. They're like, 500? And I was like, yeah, right? Yeah, it's 500. And they're like, and I was like, Wesley's like, shit. I'm like, okay. So I was like, all right, now this is awesome. This was my favorite part of the meeting. So I'm like, all right, so now we gotta, and then I'm like, can you coach your people to do 500? And they're like,
Not even with a bottle of vodka.
and I'm like, hold on, guys, like, work with me. We gotta get to 500.
For the month, though, right?
Thank you. What's 500 divided by 4?
Hold on.
125.
125 a week. What is 125 divided by 5? 25. How many hours can you make how many calls can you make in an hour? 12. So 2 hours of work. You hit this number on the phone. You can do 5 drops. That's 5 hours of work. You hit that a day. Can we, and that's one that challenged everybody when you're like, holy cow, how do I get to that? Well, yeah. Well, if you look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And this is what was awesome, is I had a brand new district come up to me afterwards, and I won't say this name because I'm going to share this video out. She came up to me and she goes, listen, I don't know how I could fit 125 into that week. And I was like, well, hold on, like, help me understand that. And I really wanted to help, and I really wanted to understand. She's like, listen, I've got 3 kids, I'm like a single mom, and I'm like, I'm busy. I go, okay, well, what's your calendar like, right? And a lot of you guys know what our hard calendar is, but we got to realize what our calendar is. And so what do we do? What is every Monday and every Friday? Meetings, right? We know those are gone, all right? We're not available.
We got call blitzes those days.
We do have call blitzes. How long are those call blitzes? 2 hours? What time do they run from?
It's longer
Like
than
1
that.
to
1 to 4.
3:30, 4.
1 to 4,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes people hop off a little early. We got things to do, right? We're busy,
Yeah,
right?
we're making drops.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing that. We're doing
I
drops.
don't know about you, but I'm doing it wrong.
Oh, you are? Uh-huh. Good. Well, we talked about that. We started talking about enrollment. You already know from 1 to 4, we're doing 3 hours whoever stayed logged on. I know I'm there. What's 3 hours times 12 calls?
36.
36. And then what do we do on Friday?
Same thing.
That goes from 10:30 to like 2, 3 hours, somewhere around there, 1:30. You got 36 calls there. What's 36 plus 36?
72.
72. What's 125 minus 72?
Like 55 almost.
55.
53.
53. Can we find somewhere in between Tuesday and Thursday to pull on or call 55 people? What's 55 divided by 3?
17.
Calculator.
17.
About 17.
That's 3 hours of drops. Could we find somewhere in these blocks of time to either call or drop in on less than 20 people? Right, Wesley, you've been out there. I know you've been pulling on doorknobs.
Yeah.
How many are you pulling in a day?
Yesterday I think I did 20.
20.
Kind of doing around 20, 25.
20, 25.
Around business parks, so it's easy.
You can really jam them out.
Yeah, you just walk into it.
How long have you done that consistently every day?
Probably a week and a half. I'm just trying to figure out.
Trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And so this is where you'll see, and I could have drawn this out already, but I wasn't here yet. So when I was the district, and this is something I know, Cyan, you were talking about doing again, and having a bunch of the districts do this as well. Some of the challenges that we have, and here's the deal, and we'll show some hands. You guys, who has all been through MIPS with Cyan? Who did you go through MIPS with Shirley? Yeah. For all of you, how many of you opened up your SAT report and looked at it weekly out and coached the numbers? So, putting her on the spot.
Yep, all me.
How do we know what we're doing? Right? We are shooting an arrow with no target. We don't even know what we're aiming at because we don't know what your ratios are. And that's on us. I own that. I should have been talking about that more, right? We have to. This is my fault. We haven't been talking about this because we're just going out. We're having a good week. At the end of the week, we do the shout-outs. Who's the leader? Who had the grit awards? Nikki, you won. Great. You did 85. Awesome. And then it's on to the next week. And then we do it again. And it's on to the next week. But how many times we look back and say, how'd you do for the last 3 weeks in a row? I'm telling you all, that's where people win in this business, is the consistency, right? Because when we got this number up here across all the districts, when we started here, they were like, good luck. But when we got down here, we go, well, how many of you can do 25 a day between the phone and on the drops? And they're like, all of us. I go, why don't we then? Because it's hard to stay consistent, right? We can't. The consistency is where we win all the time. And so what we were doing is we came over here, and what we did is we said, all right, I'll tell you what everybody needs to do then. And we're going to do this as a region, and I want to help. I own this. I'm going to be a part of it. I'm going to listen, I got to do whatever we got to do to make sure this team's successful. Because we got too much talent in this room to not know what the heck are we doing on a weekly, monthly basis. And so when you get to here, right, I don't need to use how we were doing it because
Real quick, before we go forward, Austin, how many calls did you have to make when you first started?
so this number, 125, and I'll tell you, right, I know Kyle can back it up because when I was an agent, Kyle was basically my region. So I've been underneath him for 10 years almost now. And if you're like, oh, that must have been cool, it sucked. It was terrible. It was terrible. When my first week came from construction, God's honest truth, I literally had a hammer on my pouch like that. I came to work, I'm like, all right, what do I gotta do? He had convinced me, okay. And honestly, as a team, we're making maybe 36 Monday, Friday. He had me convinced if I didn't make 100 phone calls on Monday, I was fired. If I didn't make 100 phone calls on Friday, I was fired. And if I didn't hit 25 doors like Wesley did every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I had to go home. I was doing 275 approaches a week.
What do you mean?
Yeah. He's like, you got to get out of here. Like, if you're not going to go to work, What are we doing? And that was driven in my head. And then some people will ask, like, well, you're really good. You can talk a lot. Yeah, because I did 275 approaches a week for almost 2.5 years straight.
Yep, and I had to do 100 calls a day, or they wanted me to do, between 25 and 50 drops, or between 75 and 100 calls a day, every single day.
But our market was huge back there, right? So we weren't going to drive around back and forth from Dublin to Atlanta every day, like insane. So we had to use the phones. And what's good here is some people are like, well, I don't like the phones. I'm like, I know there's days it's really freaking hot out. And I know there's days it's raining, it's a monsoon. Like, we can't. Hurricane comes through. Like, I'm not driving to that. I'm going to be able to use the phones. And that's where people are like, well, how do I use it? You got to know how to leverage it. If I'm not good at it, learn something from it. Use it as a tool. Use it to map out your schedule for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because you know when they're going to be there. If I'm going to go out there and see them in person. So, yeah, I mean, my first year, though, I started in March. That first year I was in the business, I opened up 18 accounts. Right? That was my first year. That's when I was rookie rep, because I wasn't very good, but I saw a lot of people. Right? It was actually driven in my brain. I had to set 10 a week to live. Right? And there was weeks I was setting 17, 18 appointments. Right? I maybe only run half of that because I was going so fast. But what happened to me, and this is why I actually question Kyle's training from back then, was he was driving us so hard, set 10, set 10, set 10. Who has ever ran 5 in a week before? Right? Who has ever had a week where it's jam-packed with appointments and enrollments? Right? How many drops did you do that week? None. Right? It's hard. That balancing act, and that's what caused this giant wave of a ton of activity, and we'd set 10, and then the next week I had to try and run 10, and trying to balance it was really hard. And you're just exhausted.
But don't worry, we have a plan for that too.
So that's why we're like, just relax, right? When we come out of flight school, literally what they're saying now is not 10, cut it in half. If we're going to find a way to run 5, theoretically, that's 5 hours a week. Can we find another, maybe 10 hours in the week to work? That's what we're working on, right? 20, 25 hours a week. I know that, right? So if we can run 5, that consistently, week in and week out, if I can do 25 a day, I can't lose, right? But what happens is if I did 50, I go out and just crush it that one week, then we start having this really ups and downs. It's hard to ride that roller coaster, right? You called me the other week, you're like, but all of a sudden you get out there and do a bunch of activity, boom, dental group done. You're like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's awesome. I just wrote a group. What happened? Activity always drives premium. It always does, right? So this is what we're doing. And let's just say this is, and I'll do this real quickly and then I'll pause this. Hey, let's just say this is Jeff. This is Kevin. This is Mike. I know you can't see. I'll get there in a second. Joseph. And then what we're doing is really how we're able to track this on a weekly basis is we look at, okay, if this is every week of the quarter, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, what happens is and keep it simple, what I would always do is just track, okay, well, did we get over or under our number? And so as we start going through, if it was green, and they stole my green marker, so I can't use it, we'd be like, I'd be at 130, 140, right? This, and then if she only did 95, she had a bunch of, it's okay, right? Just you're tracking it. When it's right here, weeks 1 and 2, how we've been coaching, we get to here and be like, all right, Kevin, great job, right? You did 132. Joseph, you did 125 right on the dot. Good job. And we'd be here and we're like, awesome. And this is what we do right now. We sit here and we go, Maya, what happened? You're like, oh, I was busy. I had 5 appointments. You're like, okay, I get it, right? Kevin, how'd you do? Oh, crushed it. Did 130. And that's how we coach week to week. And that's what we've been doing. But how much value is right there? What we've been doing all day long. We don't know what's going on. We don't know our ratios. But
Are we, as an agent, able to pull our stats from previous days?
Yes. And I'll show you guys how to do that after I pause this. When you're 5 weeks in the quarter and you see numbers that look like this, 150, 130, 120, the consistency is there. And coincidentally, Jeff's opened, 4 groups by that point in time in his career. Then you see somebody over here, 80, 40, had to take off vacation, didn't work that week. Oh, but then came back hot the next week. Then it came back the next week, you crush it out of flight school, you hit 150. And then you got 1 group, right? So then when you obviously look at it from 5 weeks out, you're like, well, yeah, what happened, right? But now, when I'm doing MIPS, I can actually coach you, right? What's your schedule like, right? Well, you know what? I got to pick up my kids. I'm out at 3, okay? And I got to drop them off, and I can't be here till 9. Okay, shit, right? We got to go to work then. We got to figure out how to fit you in between 9 and 3 now. And then one of the questions, and then I'll close out with this, was the district that came up to me in that meeting. We went through that calendar together, and we started talking about this. And she's like, yeah, I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. And then now that I've got some groups, she's opened, I don't want to say that number. Well, no, she's opened a lot of groups. But she goes, but now I'm getting claims, right? I'm starting to get bogged down with claims work. And I go, okay, that's awesome. I believe you. What time are you doing that at? And she looked at me and she's kind of like, during the day? And I was like, got it. Nailed it right there. I go, so you mean to tell me if you've only got 4 hours, 5 hours a day to work, why don't you just set aside the last hour to do your admin work? We already know people are going home at that time. Between 3 and 4, it's starting to slow down. Do all your claim stuff then. If it's noon on a Tuesday and you're calling on the phone doing claim work, you lost. Because that's when they're there, right? So we got to be able to manage our calendar, manage our expectations, and know how to work smarter and not harder, right? Because and this was actually yesterday on that call, the DSC call. Who in here is a morning person? Look at you, Janice. Kev. No. This is awesome. So, and seriously, please, you're out there marketing, and you're going all day. What time do you start getting kind of like, I need to get back? I've been going a long day.
Right about 2:30.
Good. Here's what I'd recommend for you. Book an appointment for 2:00. It'll keep you in the field, right? Work all your morning, and now 2:00. I've got my meeting, right? Who's not a morning person? Nikki's like, me.
When I wake up, don't bother me.
Start booking your meetings at 9. It'll force you to get in the field, right? You know when they're there, right? And you're like, but that's hard. I'll schedule it for 10. Right? It's hard. If you can get to Atlanta from God knows wherever you come from, Dublin, 3 hours from here, you can be here by 9. 3-hour drive plus getting ready. I know you didn't wake up and roll out of bed and jump in the car, right? You've been up for 4 or 5 hours already. You can make it in your backyard by 9, right? That's why I just start thinking about how to help us out, right? How to don't if I know I'm a morning person, I don't have my last meeting at noon because I'm like, I'm gonna go home, right? We're just gonna maximize our time when we're out there.
And I'm glad you say that because I recognize that within me.
Mm-hmm.
And on the calendar for next week, the people that I'm doing my meetings with is right in the afternoon.
Good.
Right up there.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that, I'm going to get them no matter what, but I need to be more productive before that time.
Green time and red time, right? I remember days where there were, and imagine this now you're a brand new agent and your boss you live with, right? And when he's not there, guess who is there? His wife. Right? There'd be days I'd come home, and this is a video, I'll share this video and he'll probably watch this. I'd get home and I'd be like, today sucked, right? It was miserable. And I'd get home at like 3:00. Thought I had a good day, but I was like, I gotta go home. I get home at 3. Pal would roll in like 5:30, come back from the office, and he goes, how was your day? It's always what you do. And he already knew, right? And he goes, what time did you get home? I was like, what do you want? And he's like, what time did you get here today? I don't know. He's like, really? It's funny. I was texting Mary. It looks like you got here about 3. Did you just didn't want to work today? What happened? That's how I literally, that was my life for a long time. I could not wait to move out of his house when I moved to California. It was a disaster, but we all do it, right? We all those days where I get the point where I'm gonna go to the mall or something. I'm gonna walk around. I refuse to walk in that door till 5 because I won't get any shit that night at dinner, right? That's just what we deal with, right? But we gotta know how to manage the expectation. We gotta know how to set up the schedule. At the end of the day, they're only there between 9 and 4, 9 and 3:30. So if we're doing claims at noon, we're hurting ourselves. Unless you're in the car.
Not like Cyan.
Yeah, she's
Multitask.
driving, faxing, and texting all at the same time.
And emailing.
And emailing.
Emailing.
But
Well,
her car is smart.